And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat because it doesn't curve, the water always finds its level.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it.
Up for sound bites. This is awesome.
All right, welcome back to Anti-Religious Scripture Study with Karen B. and Just Jack Flat Earth. Shabbat Shalom, y'all.
Shabbat Shalom.
And I apologize because we are last minute trying to scramble and get this working because the notes weren't working in my program like they normally do. So just 1 second, bear with us, y'all.
It happens often when, we start a new book or something because you have to title the commentary just right in order for it to show up on a Mac version of eSword. And that's the problem. It's just a conversion, it's like a line of code, right? If you get a piece of the code messed up, then it just won't load at all. So that's just the way it happens. So we can overarch what we're doing here. We just finished up Exodus. We've gone through Genesis and Exodus, basically chapter by chapter, excluding a couple on the begats. But instead of going continuously chapter by chapter through Leviticus, it seems better to me to only address the chapters that concern us directly. Does that mean that you should not study the first 10 chapters of Leviticus? No, not by any means. You can study that in your own time. I had a conversation with a gentleman at our last meetup about, is it a bad idea to read from multiple versions? And I say, no, it's actually a good idea to read from multiple versions because then you can compare them side by side. And then any of the words that seem distinctively different between the multiple versions, that should raise a flag for you. Like, I'm going to actually investigate this word and look at the root of the word and see what it actually means, rather than just take this version or this version or this version's opinion. That actually helps you understand why they change things, and it'll help you understand what it actually says rather than what a current agenda may be, or even a current opinion. It may not be agenda, it may just be an opinion as well. So like, let me give you, for instance, like in the King James Version, so when it uses the word pearls, no one in the Middle East was dealing in pearls, but this was the most precious stone, quote unquote, during the time of the translation. So they use pearls to let people know this is a very valuable stone. I don't know why they wouldn't use something like gold, though, because that's been valuable all over the world forever. But the thing is like they had a, cultural appreciation for pearls. So when they put something like precious stone, which I don't know if precious stone seems good enough for me, that they use pearl. So there's some things are translated due to cultural perspective. Some of them are due to religious perspective, like the doctrine that they know gets translated into the translation. Sometimes not on purpose, sometimes obviously on purpose, where they would add verses just to profess their doctrine opinion into the scripture. So now, like I said, the first 10 chapters were skipping, so to speak, because the 11th chapter is something that, all of us can understand and deal with. And that's the, what's known typically as the dietary laws. But we're going to get into that quite a bit in extensive, dissection of all these words, because I don't like a lot of the way that words are translated just because they're guessing. I mean, it's great for them to have a guess, but sometimes you're losing, something that, may seem a little more in depth if you find out the root of the word. So I'm going to give my disclaimer if I can find it here. It's not opening for me. Wow, Zoom actually zooms. My face is filling that whole window. It doesn't usually do that, so it's interesting.
I like Zoom better than Skype.
We are using Zoom today instead of Skype, yes. What is happening?
Does work
Open.
better.
Open. So I have my disclaimer selected, but for some reason it's not opening. So I'll just wing it. If you're religious and you think it's wrong to study the scriptures outside of your religion or denomination, if you believe that your religious leaders or church fathers are incapable of having inherited anti-scriptural traditions of men, if you've made up your mind about scripture that the scriptures shouldn't be studied at all, then the stream is not for you. To others who are open-minded to others' opinions, who believe that scripture may have been changed or hidden by religion, people that study the scripture and want to dig in and discover more, then the stream is for you. We're looking at scripture in the original language, which is Hebrew, from concordances or dictionaries, and we're having life experience discussion as well. We are not here to argue theology or doctrines of men like Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism. We will talk about the origins and show how their religions contradict the scriptures. Yeah, there you go. So that's me winging it. I think we hit the important parts there. We are here to trigger people, but you are not allowed to respond to your trigger. You'll just have to sit in it. Okay. So like I said, we're starting Leviticus in chapter 11 because it's a common chapter that we all should have to deal with if you think that scripture should be applied. So we can, I don't know how you want to do this. I guess we can do it like we typically do it, where you read it and then I flag you, but it'll definitely be a lot more flags than usual because I went through this chapter and it was extensive. Excuse me for changing the windows around. It's just, I think it'll be easier for us so we have them side by side like this, which is kind of what you have on your setup.
So yours, you can show all the versions at the same time. Mine don't do that.
Yeah, I did that specifically for this one because, okay, well, the scriptures version calls it this, King James version calls it this, because let's face it, like if we're trying to distinguish what is to be food and not food, there's a lot of questions out there. And I've dealt with this, as a conversation multiple times. So it's good that we're actually going to get in depth with it. One of the ones that I always get involved with is the ostrich. So I don't know if we can, we may look at a couple things, via, pictures from Google or something to get through these. Like one of them, well, we'll get into it as we go. So,
all right,
is that text large enough for you? The TS 2009.
Yeah, I can read it. Shout out to Joe Nugent who gave us a super chat. Cheers, thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, bless you. All right, so yeah, we can. If you can read the scriptures version, and then I'll pop in from time to time if something gets flagged.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So for those of you following along there at the top left where it says TS 2009, that is the version that we usually read from.
And it's the scriptures version.
Okay. And Yehovah spoke to Moshe and to Aharon, saying to them, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, These are the living creatures which you do eat among all the beasts that are on the earth."
All right, so this says in King James Version, it says beasts and beasts. Okay, so this is a problem right here with the translation thing, where it's obviously two different words for beast. Whoops, that's going to be annoying. All right, let me stretch this down a little bit so you can see the whole verse. All right, there we go. So this first beast is chai, okay, and this is chai. If you've ever heard people that practice Judaism, they'll say stuff like l'chaim, right? I'm sure you've heard it. A lot of people have. It means literally two lives, because chai means life, okay? So if you look over here on the far right of the translation, it says the living, okay? And then this beast, the root of it right here is hum, and hum is growl. Okay, so that's why I put incoherent chaos, because they can't because hum is also used for the word chaos, right? So it's the incoherent vocal sounds that they make. Okay, so they're the growlers. So that's why they shouldn't translate this one as beast and this one as beast when it's saying the living and the growlers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and beast is okay, I guess, but it's not. Some of them, when you think of some of the words that they use for the Bohema to describe animals, some of them are not beast-like. Some of them are cute and fluffy and have little paws. Right?
Right.
So they're not beasts. So that word in English, that's not quite right. It's the ones who have incoherent language, which animals, land animals. Okay.
All right.
So that's what that's about. All right. Verse 3.
Whatever has a split hoof, completely divided, chewing the cud among the beasts, that you do eat.
All right. So this is upping the split. Chewing. Okay. In Hebrew it's confusing. It says all complete from split hoof of, split hoofing, and split hoof, and split of, split hoof of, from up on cud. Okay. Okay, so chewing the cud is easier, but it's a poetic statement, right? So it's something that if you're a child, it would be a verse that you would learn as poetry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me just go there really quick there. So in here, oh yeah, this one's reversed. I forgot. Dag nabbit. All right. So this is, oh my gosh, can I blow this up? Yes. Okay, there we go. All right. So this is one of them, which is parse and parsa. Okay. And then this is the other one of sesa. So it's parsa, sesa. So it's like it's looping through those two of parsa and sesa to say split and split hoof. So there's a difference between split as in the verb to split, and then there's split as in the adjective of split, right? It's a split hoof. So that's why they can use both of those. And for English, it's harder because we don't have a distinction between the two. It's split, 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 split. So, all right.
Okay.
So we're clear that it has to be split, right? The hoof has to be split.
The hoof must be split.
Right. So, or, unlike toes, right? Because you could say the toes are split apart. But what we're talking about is the division of the foot.
Mm-hmm.
One part of the foot goes one way, one part of the foot goes the other way. That's the split. All right.
Mm-hmm. Only these you do not eat among those that chew the cud, or those that have a split hoof. The camel, because it chews the cud but does not have a split hoof, it is unclean to you.
So so that's the distinguishment, right?
Mm-hmm.
If something has a split hoof and doesn't choose a cud, no good. If something chews a cud and doesn't have a split hoof, no good, right? So hold on.
I need to understand what chewing the cud means precisely, because in my
Yes.
mind I picture camels chewing like a chewing cud.
Yes. So
Like,
it's about I mean, in modern studies, it's understood that it's like the multi-chambered stomach, that it goes through like basically a regurgitation process. So it processes the food like over it over processes the food in those animals.
Uh-huh.
So that's what chewing the cud is. It actually regurgitates and re-eats it, and that's the
Okay.
process of, yeah, that's the process of, like, sheep and goats and cows. That's the common ones. And then, like, out in the field, you got antelopes and buffalo, and one that I think is in the grouping is giraffe. And one day I hope to have giraffe just to say I've had it.
Oh,
So,
okay. Actually,
again,
I remember seeing something about that. They eat giraffe in Africa.
yeah, and imagine that's like,
That's a massive animal.
one animal will last you a long time when it's a
That
giraffe.
animal could feed like the whole tribe. That's a huge
Exactly.
animal.
Exactly. All right. So, only those you don't eat among those that chew the cud. So, in this case, chewing the cud is okay. Negative, shall eat, consume of him from upping the cud. So it doesn't even say chewing. He ups the cud. He
Okay.
from ups the cud. So when you think about modern understanding of the regurgitation, from upping the cud makes more sense.
Gotcha.
Rather than chewing, because obviously we know what chewing is, but it's actually from upping the cud.
Yeah. Oh, there's kingdom and context. Chewing cud is regurgitation of the food, so the food is broken down further than normal.
There you go.
Shout out to
Yep.
Sean. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you for clearing that up.
So even the root word alludes to that because it ups it.
Right.
It doesn't chew it, it ups it. So that's very interesting. Yeah. All right.
Interesting.
And go ahead.
All right.
Next one.
And the rabbit, because it chews the cud, but does not have a split hoof, it is unclean to you.
All right. So now we're going to have this thing where if you look, go ahead and read the next one and then we'll get into it.
And the hare, because it chews the cud, but does not have a split hoof, it is unclean to you. So rabbit and hare are pretty much the same thing.
Yes, rabbit and hare are the same thing. Okay. So why does it say coney and hare? Right. So I don't know
coney.
if you can. Yep. Exactly. So if you look up the word coney, it's the British word for rabbit.
You have to do it now. Oh,
I have to do the search?
You have to look up the words because it's your screen, not mine.
Okay, so where do I,
Like if you just click on it, it should just show on the side or below here what the word means, right?
Yeah, but I didn't share screen that way. I shared screen by the specific window type, right?
Oh.
So I have to let me do a search and then I'll change the share screen.
Your dictionary's on the bottom.
What?
The dictionary section is down there on the bottom.
No. I'm talking about like looking it up online.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you meant looking it up online? Well, I could have done that. I thought you meant look it up in the program.
No, that's what I meant. Yeah, you could. That's what I was saying. You could do that on your end, Coney.
Oh, okay.
Put Coney rabbit because that'll help you.
Well, okay, you know what? Now I look up coney and it says noun, a rabbit, or a fish.
Yeah, so it gets really confusing real quick because the Old English is different from what we use today, right?
Okay.
So I did my own investigation, and the root of this word right here, shafan, you can see that there's another word very similar to it. Oh my gosh, it's so slow loading. All right, so shofan means to conceal. All right.
Okay.
A species of rock rabbit because it hides in the rocks. Okay, because it's a concealer. Okay, that conceals its in the rocks, and the reason that you can, if you look up this word, the chiffon throughout the Old Testament, it talks about living in the rocks. Okay, so it is a rock critter. I'll just say that, a rock critter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the stone hyrax. So if you want to look that up and share that screen with the people at home, I won't be able to see it, but I'll know what it is because,
Stone hyrax.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is my best guess, folks. This is not like I'm not
What comes up is something called a hyraceum, petrified and rock-like. What?
oh
Hyraceum?
no.
Oh, no,
No.
wait. Oh, stone hyrax. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
No,
But it
no,
looks
no.
like a little, like a groundhog type thing.
It does, yes. Yeah. And if you look at like the description of it, it lives in the rocks of the Middle East. Hello.
Yeah,
You know? So it's like it's probably this.
probably.
And the people who were translating the English Bible were like, they have no idea of this chiffon.
Oh, yeah.
So
Arabian rock hyrax.
yep. Yep.
Interesting.
That's my best guess of what they're talking about there.
Okay.
And it even if you look at if you read the descriptions of it, these are cud shooter. Ugh, they're cud chewers as well,
Okay.
but they don't have a split hoof. They have little fingers, right?
Right. Okay.
All right.
Got it.
So that's my best guess is chiffon is a stone hyrax.
So they're talking about those and rabbits, probably.
Yeah, the next
and
one
hares.
is the next one. They still use the same term today in modern Hebrew as a hare, a rabbit. So I would say that is most likely a rabbit. All right.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And I should have wrote the root words with it, and I didn't, and that was my own stupidity. Like I transliterated it, but I didn't show you the root words that I put together to find these critters.
Oh.
As I was looking for them, because I'm like, oh, well, with that definition, it's obviously this animal, right?
Uh-huh. Okay.
So the next one, verse 7.
And the pig, though it has a split hoof, completely divided, yet does not chew the cud, it is unclean to you.
What does a pig eat?
A pig eats everything.
Every freaking thing.
Anything.
The other thing about pigs is pigs don't sweat. They don't process their immune systems are absolute horror. However, it's maintained within the body. So when, like, I don't want to get into too much detail, but they're disgusting animals. Okay, but they have a purpose, right?
Mhm.
If they're so horrible, if they're so unclean, shouldn't we just like kill the pig population? No, they have a purpose. Their purpose is to be basically the janitors of the earth,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
they like I don't want to go off on that tangent either. They use pig to find things in decrepit, dark, damp, decomposing areas
Yeah.
to search for things. But yeah, so that's a pig, obviously.
Mhm.
Like that's no doubt that's a pig, 100%. All right.
Says, okay, their flesh you do not eat, and their carcasses you do not touch. They are unclean to you.
Okay, so the carcasses is a continue of flowing out to nothing. So this is basically entropy, right? The body's decomposing.
Mm-hmm.
This is not, if the pig died, you can't move the body. That's not what this is talking about, right? If you find a rotting pig, don't touch that crap,
Right.
and this is specifically touch. Later on, you're going to see that are other things that you can't carry, which is different than touch. So we'll get into that later. But this is for sure a pig, especially a rotting pig.
Mhm.
Don't touch that.
I'm not going to argue with that.
But what about, we got gloves? We got gloves. So no, just leave it alone. If you can leave it alone, leave it alone.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. These you do eat of all that are in the waters. Anyone that has fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, or in the rivers, that you do eat.
Right. And the word scales is cover. It says cover. So if you can think about scales, how they overlap each other, it's
Yeah.
cover. So it's very interesting, these Hebrew words. So
that is
all right.
interesting. But all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, all that move in the waters, or any living being which is in the waters, they are an abomination to you.
They swarm the waters and do complete all life sources the living, that which in waters, detestable, filthy. Look here them for you. That's not supposed to be look here as in HEAR. That's a typo on my part. It's HERE. Look here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. You're not listening for them. You're observing them. Okay.
Right.
When you observe them, they're detestable, filthy to you. They're abomination is like, we have that word in English and it is the most detestable thing, but it's literally like it's not something you want to touch.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. They are an abomination to you. Of their flesh you do not eat, and their carcasses you abominate.
Okay, so let's talk about some animals that do not have fins and scales in the water. All right. So, do whales have fins?
Yes.
Do they have scales?
No.
Do alligators have scales? Some would argue yes. I've seen arguments that they have scales.
Well, what is it
Their
then? What
armor,
is their skin called? It is
their
kind of
armor body.
scaly.
Yeah, it's scaly. So, it's not like the same like overlapping, but yeah, we could argue that. But regardless, does not have fins, right?
No.
So
But it also goes on land.
that's true. And I'm going to use that argument for one of the birds here in a moment.
Okay.
What about shrimp?
Shrimp, that would be, it has,
Does it have scales?
well, does that, I don't know.
It's just one exothermic body,
But it's
right?
in pieces and they can bend, like it does, one kind of does overlap the other, but
Does it have fins?
no.
Okay, so see the thing, you could like nuance and argue, well, kind of looks like a scale.
That's what I'm saying. I
and
don't.
and I've had these discussions. Okay, so clams and oysters, no fins, no scales,
Right.
right? Um,
But see, what the funny thing about those things though is those are all like bottom feeder filtration type animals. They clean the water,
exactly.
like oysters clean the water, clams clean.
Yep. And
Shrimps.
as the human consumption, the waters are getting dirtier and dirtier.
Mm-hmm.
Like high levels of chemicals that should be filtered out. So the other one, like let's say catfish. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a catfish has fins, but it does not have scales. And they they go underneath the dirt and they're bottom feeders as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they're super slippery when you get them out.
Yeah.
But like sharks, no scales. So it's a lot of different sea life, but it gets very simplistic when you have fins and scales as the determining factor of whether or not it's an edible fish.
So it has to have both to be an edible fish.
Correct. And if you look here, none of these things say anything about those that do have fins and scales, or those that do have a split hoof and chew the cud. It doesn't say anything about clean. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a conversation that I've had with people before. You can't say that these are the clean and unclean foods. Okay. So here's the problem. When you say unclean food, it's an oxymoron. Do you understand what I mean?
Right, because if it's unclean, it's not food.
Very good. If it's unclean, it's not food. Right? So
Right.
It's literally either detestable, filthy, or food. That's it. There's no clean food, no such thing.
Right.
Now, if you want to go a little bit farther and talk about non-GMO, organic, then you can probably specify cleaner
That's what
food.
I was going to say. Now, when I say eat clean, I'm thinking not genetically modified, not sprayed with crap.
Right.
Not
So
made
that's what I'm
unclean
saying.
by humans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got to get out of these vernaculars, because when we have arguments about we're not going to get into it here, but when we have arguments about New Testament concepts, they're like, well, it says that you can eat any meat. Well, the detestable thing is not considered meat. It's not considered food. So you would never even consider that as something you would eat. So, all right. So they're an abomination to you. Of their flesh you do not eat. Their carcasses you abominate, you detest.
Mhm.
All right.
All that have not fins or scales in the waters are an abomination to you. And these you do abominate among the birds. They are not eaten. They are an abomination, the eagle and the vulture and the black vulture.
Oh boy. Okay. So this is okay. So birds is the first thing I have a problem with. It's the flyers. Okay. The winged flyers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the root of the word is wing, and then by extension the flyer. Okay. Or actually wing is the extension of flyer. Yeah, it's the other way around. But anyways, regardless, these flyers are anything that flies, including, like, let's say bats, which we're going to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a bat is not a bird unless you want to classify it that way, because the way that we have classifications are made by man,
Mm-hmm.
right? These classifications exist by man's classification. Like they'll say, well, this one's from this family and this one's from that family. Okay, well, what's the distinction between the two? Oh, the length of the third toe. Something stupid like that. They do that where they have different classifications based on their own opinions of how they, evolved or came out of this family or whatever. So classifications are not within the description. So these are flyers, things that have wings that have fly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these birds, it says the eagle, the vulture, and the black vulture. Okay. And here I have the am I missing one?
Eagle and the vulture and the black vulture. Were you looking in your translation part?
Oh, wait.
Ossifrage and the osprey.
I'm looking at something right now. Okay, so the reason that this one was not translated is because it's the same word as split hoof.
Oh, which word?
This one right here, ossifrage.
Oh.
Because it says a claw, right?
Uh-huh.
Also a kind of eagle, but it's literally that same word that we use for split hoof.
Really?
Yes.
That's weird.
So what bird is that? A bird that has a claw that goes like this, right? Divided.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of bird this is. Don't get it twisted. I don't know what this is, but I'm saying like this should be included in the description. Now they say vulture. Maybe they're talking about a specific vulture that has a divided claw. I don't know. But
the dodo bird is coming to my mind right now. I don't know why. Because remember how weird that thing was supposed to look, and it had weird feet.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what it is, though.
I mean, that's a guess. Yeah. So like Nesher is the first one that they call eagle. It's a Nesher talks about fast. Okay. So Nesher, I need to make this smaller so it can show up. If you go to corresponding to lacerate. Well, there's descriptions that say that it's fast. That it quickly dives and stuff like that. So the split hoof bird, whatever that is, and the azanaya, which is the bird of strength. So it's a strong bird of prey. So that's from the root Oz or O's, which is strength. So it's a strong bird, a split hoof bird, and a fast bird. I don't know what these are, and neither do these people. Right? This one has eagle, vulture, black vulture. This one has eagle, ossifrage, and osprey. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're guessing too. All right, go ahead.
Where were we at? I lost my place.
14.
14. And the hawk and the falcon after its kind,
You can
every
keep going.
raven after its kind, and the ostrich and the nighthawk and the seagull and the hawk after its kind.
Okay, so a lot of guesses here, right? Hawk / vulture.
Yeah.
Falcon / kite. Raven, sure, they agree on raven. Ostrich / owl. Now, the old King James Version, it said ostrich, but somebody flagged them on it. The new versions of the KJV says owl.
Owl?
Yep.
That's a big freaking difference between an owl and an ostrich.
Yep, and I'm going to get into that too. All right. So they agree on nighthawk. This says seagull. This says cacao. Okay. Cacao. I don't even know what that is.
I don't either.
And then they agree on hawk. Okay, so if this says hawk up here, and this says hawk up here, it can't be right.
So which one is different? So King James says vulture in the first part there.
So all we can do is go with the description, right? So this one, the da'a, it means back and forth. It's back and forthing. So I would guess vulture is a better guess because it just goes back and forth, going around and looking at its prey. Yep. And the next one, maybe falcon, maybe a hawk of some type, but it literally says it's the one that goes, ah! The Hebrew word is, like if you saw something and you went, ah! Like, or aha, or like that, it's an onomatopoeia.
Okay.
This is a Hebrew word for an onomatopoeia of ah. So it literally says it's the ahing. It's the bird that's awing.
Okay.
It's going ah, right. So I'm like, okay, hawk works.
Yeah, hawk. That's what I'm thinking of, like some sort of hawk.
And again, this is a guess. Okay, raven is most definitely a raven, and this is the same bird that was sent out of the ark, the container, to find out if the floodwaters had receded. This is the mingled with darkness. That's why we know it's the raven. It's the mingled with darkness, dark feathers and stuff like that. And then the ostrich, this is the one where I have a big problem with it. And by the way, action to the daughter. Okay, so this is the action to the daughter would be in the family of this bird. Okay, now here it says the first. Okay, but they're saying like the first of like the first of the family, female of the family, right? Because like the son would be the continuation, so by extension the female. So they're using the word first here. I don't use the word first here. King James ignores it altogether, right? It just says and the owl. But I would say in the family of, right?
Okay. In the family of.
And the first one is the ya'ana. Okay. The ya'ana is that word that is rooted in, see, it does say, look, I'll show you right here, bat, from daughter.
Yeah.
By extension, relationship, the branch, the company. Okay. So bat is there, but it's not mentioned here. But then ya'ana. All right. So if we go there, the root word is ayin, which means to eye, right? To intently look, to furrow. This is like your eyebrow. Okay. The furrow formed between the eyes when intently looking. All right. So if you think about that description, to me, that sounds like an owl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they do have a very distinct looking eyes and eye line. They're not like other birds in that way.
The big brow, fervently looking. Okay, so that's why I say, yeah, I'm guessing owl, right? Now, what about ostrich? We've done this before in a previous episode, but is it possible for you to show the audience, just look up, Google it, whatever, bones, bird foot bones. Look up that first and then show pictures of it.
Okay.
And then show that to your audience. Can they see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see it's like a lot of little bones with 3 or 4 fingers, right?
Yeah, like they have toes. It looks like toes, fingers or
Yeah.
toes.
Very tiny, thin, lengthy toes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I want you to look up cow foot bones. And you can see what a split hoof looks like.
Okay.
All right. Now this is where it gets weird. Ostrich foot bones.
Oops.
And try to
Yeah.
remember what a cow foot bone looks like.
Right.
They're very, very, very similar.
Yeah, that's weird.
Where it has one main bone and it splits into 2. It has a split hoof. Okay. The other thing is that an ostrich has a multi-chambered stomach and it chews the cud. So as a land animal, not as a bird, but as a land animal, it's clean. I'm thinking it shouldn't even be in the classification as the flyers,
Well, it
as the
doesn't.
birds.
It doesn't fly.
It doesn't fly. Now, this is just Jack's opinion, folks, but this has been my own, discovery. And there are older versions of King James Version and this version of the scriptures that say ostrich. But I refuse to believe that because of my own investigation. Now,
so this is
did somebody
saying the book is saying ostrich is unclean, but you're saying by description it's actually
clean?
clean. Okay.
Yeah. And by when you say the book, you're saying in these translations of
Right.
this word,
Right.
right? And think about an ostrich. Is an ostrich a intensely looking bird? Actually, no. It's a lot of times their head is not looking at all. Right? They're known for burying their head to hide, So no, I would say these are not intently looking birds. So I'm just saying the translation ostrich, I don't think it can work here at all. And so upon my own investigation, I've determined for myself, and it's between me and the creator, and may Yah convict me if I'm wrong, but I've eaten ostrich before. And it's weird. It's like this dark purple meat. It's crazy.
It's weird.
Tastes good though. If you're a meat eater, it tastes good. So anyway.
All right.
So this is what we have to do. We have to not just trust translations. We have to look at the word, look at the description of the animal, and you can go throughout, and then everywhere where you see this word of the Ya'ana, it describes an owl. 100% it describes an owl. What type of owl? Not exactly sure. An owl that intently looks. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. And then the next one is translated as nighthawk. This is a shaking, violent animal. Okay. I think it's the shoebill. So if you don't mind, look up shoebill.
Shoebill. Okay.
Yeah.
Those really weird looking,
really ugly looking
these
pelican looking
things,
suckers.
Yeah. They're the ones
Yeah.
that like people see them and they're like, what is that? Yeah.
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 So show that to your audience of shoebill.
Crazy looking bird.
Now, it's a very violent hunter, and it eats everything. It eats baby crocodiles. It eats Gila monsters. It eats everything you could think of in the desert, like every living thing. And then on top of that, it's it does this shaking thing when it grabs its prey and it snips off its head. Like, it bites down and shakes its head and rips off its head, which seems like shaking and violent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, another interesting thing about this creature that may make it sound violent is look up shoebill sound, and I'll see if I can find the video really quick. If you type in shoebill sound, one of the ones that come up, it says shoebill store clattering sound like machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
Play that, and if your audience can hear the sound, that would be great.
Oh wait, hold on. I gotta change my sound settings. Oh.
It's crazy though.
That's crazy.
All right, that's good. That's good.
It's doing that with its beak.
Yeah, and you know what's really crazy? You know what's really crazy is like YouTube might strike this video for violence. So that's a violent animal right there.
I hope not.
No, but like if you're talking about a bird that's shaking and violent, this bird would bar none like overturn all other guesses if you live in that area. I'm just saying. That is a crazy, shaking, violent bird. So I assume that's a shoebill.
Yeah, that thing sounds crazy.
And its diet would determine, okay, that makes it even like, so if you look at all these birds, if you know, regardless of if they translated them correctly or not, by the descriptions of these birds, these are all predator birds. These are all hunting birds. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So these are, you know, the dive bombing, you know, critter hunting birds. So these are the unclean birds. As opposed to, like, let's say, okay, turkeys. Mm-hmm. Turkeys are foraging birds, you know,
mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So these are all, these are birds with, you know, talons, you know, where it's got the at least two in front and one in the back with
mm-hmm.
the super deep claws. They got talons. So, I mean, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about predator birds as the quote unquote unclean bird. The next bird that's called a, let's see, 16, a hawk, is the root of the word is nets, which is the word for blossom. Blossom. So yeah, so blossom. Remember when we were describing the menorah and we talked about the blossoms on the menorah?
Mm-hmm.
Same word. So I think this is a bird with a very plumy neck looking bird, but I don't know what bird it is. But they say hawk. So
some vultures have that. Right, where they have no fur on their neck, and then at the end there's like that.
It plumes out.
It plumes out. Yeah, that's like a those vultures. You know, like the typical look of a vulture. Its head is naked, and then it's got the plume at the bottom of the neck.
Right. Yeah. So I mean that again, that could be it. you know, and we don't know for 100% certainty, but I'm saying like these are the.
Or a condor. Condors maybe do that too, don't they?
Not sure.
Let me look.
Condors are uglier than I thought.
Yeah, they're.
But they do have extra plume around their neck.
But it does have that plume thing going on.
Yeah.
And they're I don't know if they're considered predator birds or scavenger.
Yeah, scavenger birds, predator birds, they're in the same classification as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
There's condor.
I mean, if it doesn't have feathers on its head because of the toxicity of it, you probably shouldn't eat that bird. I'm just saying, like, all right, anyway. So then the next one, you can read through 17 through 19.
Okay. And the little owl, and the fisher owl, and the great owl, and the white owl, and the pelican, and the carrion vulture, and the stork, and the heron after its kind, and the hoopoe, and the bat.
Yep. And then in King James Version, the cormorant, the great owl, the swan, the pelican, the eagle, stork, heron, lopping, and bat. Okay, so they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it funny, like all these different owls, you know, but this, I just show you the root definition of the words, and then you can make your own investigation. So the first one is kos, which is an unknown bird, which is do, cover, or cup. They do cover or cup. The shalak is a bird that throws out, whatever that means. The yansuf, which is a crepuscular bird. That's a new word I learned in investigating this thing. Crepuscular because it's a twilight bird. It only goes out at dawn time and dusk time. And that they actually have a technical term for that called crepuscular bird, which is interesting. It doesn't prove anything. It's just interesting to me. So the next set is tinshamet, which is a panting, breathing bird. Okay. The next one is ka'at, which is a vomit bird. I think that might be vulture.
Vomit bird.
Yeah, because it actually, like, it eats and it regurgitates and then it eats the vomit, and then that's how it digests food. So, yeah, that's my guess. Okay. The next one, racham, which I unfortunately did not fill in the transliteration there, but the racham is the word for bowels, compassion, or womb. So it has something to do with the gut, right? It's a gut bird, whatever that means. And then we have the stork, which I agree with, the chasidia. Chasidia, yeah. Chasida. I do agree with stork. It's the bowing bird, like its neck, like it bows in the middle, it bows. Okay. The next is anatha, which is a snorting angry bird. So it's probably got big nostrils or a big nose. Okay. And then 2 for typing, that's after its kind. And action 2, the dookie fat.
I see snorting angry bird, and then in King James it says swan.
Yep.
That could be true. Because those things are mean, dude. They're huge. And they honk at you.
I could say that for geese too.
Yes.
But I don't know that that's the, I don't know that swan is unclean either.
I don't know. I just know that they're mean.
I can't see, I really can't see the swan as being, I mean, even though it's called out as swan, I can't see that as being an unclean bird.
I mean,
I don't see how.
I don't know.
I'll have to investigate more. I haven't ever been offered swan, but if I do, I'll further my investigation into swan. Okay. All right. A snorting angry bird, angry birds. And this one I thought was funny because in transliteration, it's dookie fat. Dookie fat. So this is called a grouse in some places, and it's the crushing or wave, crush or wave, like the wave crashes. Oh, there it is. It wrapped around. Oh my gosh.
Whole piece?
Yeah, a whole or a piece. So it crushes a portion, or it crashes a whole, or something like that. So the word of the thought is a whole or a piece of something. A missing piece, a whole. Okay. And then action 2, the otlef, which is distinctively a bat. It's like it's known. It is known that Aleph is bat. So no bats, no eating bats. Sorry for bat eaters. No more. All right.
They're so small. Like, why would you try to eat those anyway? You're not gonna get much.
And then this says creep. And it says flying insects. And then this says fowls. Okay, so what are fowls to you?
That's bird. That's
Bird.
like water bird.
Yeah.
Is what I think
But
of.
this is because it's winged. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's winged. So could be. But it's also the swarming flyer. Okay. The all swarming flyer, which I would say would be the insects, not to mention it's going to talk about traveling on fours. Okay, so that's crawlers. All right, so flyers and crawlers of the little critters. All right.
Flying insects that creep on all floors is an abomination to you.
Yeah. They're detestable, filthy. I guess I jumped ahead there, huh? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
All flying insects that creep on all fours is an abomination to you. That's what it says. Sorry. All right, go ahead. You can read verse 21.
Only these you do eat of every flying insect that creeps on all fours, those which have jointed legs above their feet with which to leap on the earth.
All right, so these are jumpers, yeah?
So,
and leap is release to the air.
Okay.
Because there's a couple of different things that it talks about rather than jumping.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So like soda as a chemical gas release. In King James Version, it's nitre. So it's like a chemical gas release into the air. So leaping is a release into the air as well.
That's so weird that soda, that's what soda means.
Yeah, release into the air.
And that's
what
we call, like,
what we call
beverages
soda.
that have gas in it.
Yeah.
They're gassed to make them fizzy.
Yeah, they're soda. Yeah.
Weird.
Okay. So these are jumping critters that typically fly or crawl on all fours, but these are the guys who travel by jumping. Okay. So I've had somebody ask me, well, jumping spiders jump, but that's not their mode of travel. They crawl around, and then when they're scared or attacking, they'll jump, but that's not their mode of transportation. If you think about a cricket, a grasshopper, a locust, they jump to travel. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. They don't crawl around and keep their legs in the muck. They jump. Okay. These of them, okay, go ahead. You can read 22, sorry.
That's okay. These of them you do eat, the arba locust after its kind, and the solam locust after its kind, and the hargol locust after its kind, and the hagav locust after its kind.
Hagav. Okay. It's that hagav.
I have a hard time doing that.
That's okay.
Sometimes.
You do better when it's in the middle of the word than in the beginning of the word.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's not used to gearing up to make that sound.
Yeah, exactly. Hagav. Okay, so this is the scriptures version, and here it says the locust, bald locust, the beetle, the grasshopper. Okay?
Okay.
What they did in the scriptures version is what should have been done in the first place, not including the word locust, because if you look, it's a dash and then
it's an italicized.
So you can see this is called an arbe, a solam, a hargol, and a chagav.
Okay.
That's what the critters are. Okay. And then you can look at what these words mean, which is the arve is the increasing, the multiplying, which is the same word used in the Egypt plague of locusts. It's this word. Okay. Next one is salam, which is the height or the cliff. So it's a high leaping insect. I'm assuming that's the grasshopper.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is the chargol, which means to tremble, and my guess is katydids.
Okay.
You know katydid?
Yeah, they look like grasshoppers.
Yep. Katydid, Katy didn't. Katy did, Katy didn't. That's what they say. And then the chagav is the insect that spins.
Huh.
And this is the root word of chag, like celebration during the time of the moed. You know, spinning, like drinking, partying, spinning, that word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a spinning insect. And I saw a couple that I was investigating, but I am not willing to make a decision on that because
Yeah.
we're talking about these you can eat. So I don't want to be wrong,
Right.
but I've recognized some leaping, spinning bugs that exist in that region. But I'm not sure which one we're speaking of specifically. So
okay. Interesting.
because I don't know if it's their mode of travel or if it's just something they do when they're startled. So I have to do investigation on that.
All right.
Sorry about that. But yeah, verse 23.
Oops, hold on. There we go. Wait a minute.
And by the way, science explains bugs as crawling on 6 feet, and the Torah says 4 feet. So that means it's crawling on 4 feet and 2 arms. That's what's up. Are you frozen? What happened?
No, I'm not frozen. I just whatchamacallit. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Display went off or something?
I just had the wrong display selected on the screen. I was like, I wanted to make sure everybody could see what they were supposed to see. My bad.
Okay.
All right.
No worries.
But all other flying insects which have 4 feet are an abomination to you.
The swarm flyers, right? The swarm flyers, which are insects, that which 4 feet. Okay, so again, Torah describes an insect as 4 feet. So it means that it crawls on 4 feet and 2 hands, not 6 legs.
See, that's what I was wondering, because insects have 6
appendages.
Right. And I can't think of anything that only has 4.
Yeah. But if you think about let's think about an ant for a second. When you see ants crawling around, they're on all 6.
Yeah.
But then when they're dealing with food, they use their front 2 legs for whatever. So maybe it's just 4 legs and 2 arms.
I mean, it could be.
It's just another way to think about it, you know?
Yeah. Okay. And
that whole classification thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And by
does a spider have 4 legs and 4 arms? Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. And by these you are made unclean. Anyone touching the carcass of any of them is unclean until evening.
Yeah.
What do you mean unclean until evening? So
like, let's say, I mean, my own experience, you know, if I have an invasion of insects, and forgive those who are sensitive to the bug's life, I'm sorry, but if I kill a bunch of insects and I have bug guts on my hands, I should be very cautious about how clean I am, right? But unclean until evening, in the case of the time of the tabernacle, which is what we're talking about here, because in further chapters it says, if you're unclean, you cannot approach the tabernacle, which is where the Creator connects with the people, right? Remember, we talked about the tabernacle in extents. That's the place where Yah appears. So if you just got done killing a bunch of insects, you do not approach the tabernacle that day. You're unclean until evening. You go to sleep, you reset, and then you can approach the tabernacle the next day.
Okay.
I think it's a frequency thing. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
But that's,
could be.
Again, that's my own personal opinion.
It could be.
So unclean for me is like you're out of sync, right? Your frequency is off, you know.
Okay.
All right. 25.
And anyone picking up part of the carcass, any of them has to wash his garments and shall be unclean until evening. Every
I think
beast,
it's self-explanatory.
yeah, every beast that
Um,
has a, what do you want to read?
hold on one second. So when we're talking about, these two verses right here, we're not just talking about insects. We're talking about everything previous, any unclean thing, right?
Right.
Of the beasts of the field, of the flyers, of the insects, all of them are included in this because we broke down the three categories, and then we're saying, and by any of these, any of these things, when you're touching like carcasses, and I went to the extent of even killing bugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
All right. That's not where we go up one. Were we up
Yeah,
one?
you wash the garments and unclean till evening.
Oh yeah. Every beast that has a split hoof, not completely divided, or does not chew the cud is unclean to you. Anyone who touches their carcass is unclean.
Yep. Pretty self-explanatory, I think.
And whatever goes on its paws, among all the creatures that go on all fours, those are unclean to you. Anyone who touches their carcass is unclean until evening.
Okay, so paws are palms, so hands. Okay, so remember, these are creatures that go on all fours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these are crawlers. Yeah, of all sorts of different types. So hands and feet,
So like dogs, cats.
dogs, cats, and even the insect critters, um the the rabbits, like all these things that have palms or hands that hit the ground when they travel,
Mm-hmm.
but a split hoof does not. It's like they're standing on tippy toes.
Okay. And he who picks up their carcass has to wash his garments and shall be unclean until evening. They are unclean to you.
Yep.
And these are unclean to you among the creeping creatures that creep on the earth, the mole and the mouse and the tortoise after its kind.
All right. So the creeping creatures that creep, I just say the swarming, and swarm the swarm on their arrests. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah. Creeping things. See, swarmer. Yeah.
Ah.
Because the root is like not just creep, but abundant and move together, and they breed and they increase. Swarmer is more appropriate than creeping.
Hmm.
All right, mole.
Mole.
The first one is hold, which is funny because hold is close to the English word hole, which means passing through, a
Right.
burrowing animal.
Mm-hmm.
I find that ironic and interesting. Akhbar, which is a mouse, and sav, which is a tortoise or the walled animal.
Hmm.
So I will go with mouse, or sorry, I will go with mole, but weasels also do burrow. So that's still a possible thing. We
Mm-hmm.
just know whatever it is, it's something that burrows because it passes through the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's the description of it. All right.
All right. And the gecko, and the land crocodile, and the sand reptile, and the sand lizard, and the chameleon. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Anyone who touches them when they are dead becomes unclean until evening.
Okay. So the gecko is called ferret.
Okay, those are...
Land crocodile, chameleon, sand reptile, lizard, sand lizard, snail, chameleon, mole.
What?
You see how convoluted it can be if you don't know what animal it literally says. Okay,
Yeah.
so the first one is the anaka, which is the crying animal. And they have ferret or gecko. I don't know about that. It's some animal that makes a crying noise. Yeah. Let's see. Crying. Or it could be the breast animal. Because the root of it is suckle, breast, innocent, infant crying, So these are all based on like of the baby type, right? Suckling, breast, innocent, So it's a crying animal, most likely. Like that's how you distinguish the animal. It's the animal that sounds like crying. And there are a few animals like that. I leave people to their own investigation. But regardless, if it doesn't have a split hoof and it doesn't chew the cud, it's pretty self-explanatory. But the chak, which is, I think, gecko, is a pretty good guess. But that's because I thought that they were affirming gecko this way. But chameleon, it definitely could be. Because the way that they grab the branches, they got those fingers that like wrap around the branches, and the word means firm hand. Okay. The next one is lata'a, which is that which is covering or hiding. And they're talking about like lizards, like, they run under the rocks and they hide. The next one is translated as snail, which is chomet. But there's no I couldn't find anything even for descriptive wise of what chomet is, other than chum, which means to be incoherent, chaotic, maybe chaotic of, but I'm not quite sure, so I just left it chomet. I should have put unknown animal there, but tin shemet, which is a panting, breathing animal. So something that pants all the time. So I don't see that as chameleon or as mole. So I don't know what the panting, breathing animal is. And then if you look at this panting, breathing, we actually had a similar word for the birds.
Yeah.
The exact same Hebrew word for the bird that pants or breathes. And then there's a mammal that they call the same word that means pants or breathes. So that's interesting as well. Yeah. All right. I guess we're on 32. Wow, this is a long verse.
All right.
Wow, okay.
And whatever any of them in its dead state falls upon becomes unclean, whether it is any wooden object or garment or skin or sack, any object in which work is done, it is put in water, and it shall be unclean until evening, then it shall be clean.
Yep.
Any earthen vessel into which any of them falls, whatever in it becomes unclean, and you break it.
What's an earthen vessel? Do you know?
I don't know. An earthen
Something made of
vessel.
clay.
Okay.
Yep. Pacifically.
Pacifically made of clay. Okay.
Yep.
Any of the food.
I mean, well, hold on. I could argue glass as well, because it's made from sand, maybe. But
clay makes more sense.
Characteristically, you take something from the earth and you make your pot or your bowl or your whatever, and you have some dead carcass animal in there. Don't try to wash that crap. Just destroy it. Move on. Make a new bowl.
Well, that makes sense because clay is porous.
Yep, very porous. Exactly. That's what I was thinking about it too. And it even says like wood, if you have it made correctly, it can be washed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is said. And if you have skins, it can be washed. So, but when it's earthen, it's porous, it has to be destroyed. Even if they didn't know it was porous back then, who knows?
Right. Well, I guess that's why they have instruction. Any of the food which might be eaten on which water comes becomes unclean, and any drink which might be drunk from it becomes unclean.
Again, tainted. Yeah.
So this is talking about the earthen vessel still?
No.
Or what is this about now?
So if these dead carcasses fall in any of your food or drink, it's unclean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't want to eat food that's been sitting under a dead carcass, or drink any water that has something dead floating in it.
Right. Of course.
That's what it's talking about. Yeah.
And on whatever any of their carcasses, and on whatever any of their carcass falls becomes unclean. An oven or cooking range, it is broken down. They are unclean and are unclean to you.
So ovens and cooking ranges were made of clay, so those also could be broken down and rebuilt.
Okay.
So yeah, vessel, which is let's see. Oh, I'm on 34 with the description. That's why. Okay, there we go. All right, furnace is hollowed out, and the oven is dew lamp fire. So this is like you make a little hole, and then you harden the clay, and then that's your oven, or you cook on top of it, and that's your stove. So these are clay. Excuse me. These are not pot belly stainless steel stoves or anything.
Right.
These are clay cooking elements. So,
All right. But a fountain or a well, a collection of water is clean, but whatever touches their carcass is unclean.
So if you have a constant, like a well is like it fills, and like it's water coming up from underneath, right? So it's a circulating process, so it can be considered clean. Or a fountain is what we would call a spring. A well, a pitch, waters, clean floor, clean, pure, continue touch, clean, continue flow out is the unclean. So the carcasses is unclean.
All right.
So that area where it fell is unclean, but then you can clean it. So.
And when any of their carcass falls on any planting seed which is to be sown, it is clean.
Yep, you can't. So if a dead carcass falls on a bunch of seed, it can still be planted, and it'll still grow, and it doesn't defile it.
Right. Actually,
So
it
that's
might
what we're
make it
talking
grow better.
It might. It might. Yep.
But when any water is
That's
put...
that's what composting is, right?
Right, exactly. But when any water is put on the seed and any part of such carcass falls on it, it is unclean to you.
That's when it becomes unclean, right? Because if it gets wet and it starts soaking it in and germinating with the dead carcass in it, then it's not so good. You got to get that stuff in the ground for it to be clean.
And when any of the beasts which are yours for food dies, he who touches its carcass becomes unclean until evening.
All right, so
And
this is okay. So because
so now it's saying if you touch the carcass of food, you're unclean.
Yep. Because they do die from the beast growler, that which he ate to for your food. The continue touch and continue of the carcass. Okay, so this is if it's typically food, but you find it as a dead carcass. All right, so even though, okay, I have this cattle ranch, and then like I find this dead rotting cow, and I bury it or whatever, you're unclean until evening.
Okay. And he who eats of its carcass has to wash his garments and shall be unclean until evening. And he who picks up its carcass has to wash his garments and shall be unclean until evening.
So even if you get salvageable meat out of it, you're still unclean until evening.
And every swarming creature, the one that swarms on the earth, is an abomination. It is not eaten. whatever crawls on its stomach, and whatever goes on all fours, and whatever has many feet among all swarming creatures, the ones swarming on the earth, these you do not eat, for they are an abomination.
So we're talking about snakes, centipedes, stuff like that.
Okay.
Lots of different critters crawling around their stomach.
Do not make yourselves abominable with any swarming creature, the one swarming, and do not make yourselves unclean with them, lest you be defiled by them. For I am Yehovah your Elohim, and you shall set yourselves apart, and you shall be set apart, for I am set apart, and do not defile yourselves with any swarming creature, the one creeping on the earth.
All right, so this is saying this important thing right here. You shall be set apart. Oh, you think you're so holy? Yeah. Yeah, I try really hard to be holy. Yep. I want to be set apart as the Creator is set apart. I want to be very distinguishable from the rest of the world. I'm not going to participate in the crap that you're doing. I'm not going to agree with the crap you're doing. I'm set apart. I'm holy. There's nothing wrong with being holy. It's been turned into something, oh, you're so holy and self-righteous. Yeah, I'm going to check myself and make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Self-righteous. You understand what I'm saying? It's been demonetized. It's been demonized.
Right.
It's been demonetized. You can't get any money out of it anymore. No, it's been demonized when these words are actually a good thing. You should be holier than thou. You should be self-righteous. You should be checking yourself and making sure that you're doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with these things, but I understand the implications of what it's saying, like arrogance and selfishness and stuff like that. But if you listen to the words and what they actually describe, it's what we should be. We should be holier than thou, and we should be self-righteous, right? But I'm not righteous within myself. I'm righteous within the Creator. So, whatever, if you want to go that way.
All right. For I am Yehovah, who is bringing you up out of the land of Mitzrayim to be your Elohim, and you shall be set apart, for I am set apart.
Again, and you shall be set apart, for I am set apart.
This is the Torah of the beasts and the birds and every living being, the creeping creature in the waters, and of every being that swarms on the earth.
And we have addressed this word Torah before, but I wanted to throw it up there anyway, because some people may not understand what Torah means, because when they hear Torah, they think law, and when they hear law, they're thinking like red and blue lights, you better hide. Right? But it's literally the teaching or the instruction, the direction that one is to take in life, because it's about throwing you in the right direction. Let's see, how did I translate it here? To send to the right direction, right? So this is actually rooted in throwing. So, or an archer, right? One who throws an arrow. So you send it in the right direction. It's the same root word.
All right.
So the Torah is the instruction that sends you in the right direction, just like throwing. So, all right.
To make a distinction between the unclean and the clean, and between the living creature that is eaten and the living creature that is not eaten.
Yep. And this is distinction as in separation, right? To be separate. Between the unclean and between the clean, between the living, the chaya, like l'chaim, right? And then puts creature. And continue the consumption, and between the living, that which negative consumption. All right. There we go.
All right.
I guess I could stop sharing. I don't know what that's going to do to your layout. Maybe I should leave it up there.
No, leave it up there. Well,
all right.
Because they can see you. Your camera's on and everything, so you don't have to.
Groovy.
Yeah.
I'd like to do 2 thumbs up, but
1.5.
There you go. 2 thumbs up. For those of you that don't know, I cut my tendon behind my thumb, so I can't do a thumbs up anymore on my left hand, which is a bummer.
And also,
But
thank you for the super chat, Pork Disco. We were talking.
appreciate it.
So, cheers. Thank you.
Yeah, Pork Disco, you need to change your name.
Who is also Emily.
You're triggering me with that pork. And
We
today's
just talked
subject
about-
on top of that, right?
I know, right? Well, at least
All
it's
right.
not like pork buffet.
Yeah.
It's pork disco.
But I ain't dancing with no pigs neither. I'm not holding it against her. I'm just joking. But
It's funny.
I'm gonna go into the YouTubes right now just to glance over the chat. There may not be anything there, but I'm gonna go there anyway because I feel left out not being in the chat. All right. Alex Javier, what's up, brother? There's questions too. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Not really here is here. All right, right on. I never studied the Bible until a few years ago, but could always tell there was a creator. It's too amazing to be random. Yeah, the journey that I started on, I was a devout, non-denominational Christian that was training to be a pastor. And I became an atheist for about a second because, it was denying my current belief system. But then I realized, well, if the Bible doesn't say it and the religion is doing it, then maybe I should just see what the Bible actually says, because obviously I've been taught wrong, right? And understanding the scriptures rather than trusting a man is a completely different lifestyle. Completely different. YouTube literal or Bible literalists told me that there's stuff in the Bible about geometry and nature. So I said, where? And they said, read it. And I said, no, tell me where it is. And they wouldn't tell me, so I'm calling BS. Yeah, exactly. Anybody who says, well, the Bible says blah, 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 if they can't show it to you, just leave it. The book isn't necessary. Intelligent design is evidenced by geometry and nature. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you don't need a book to tell you. You can see. I mean, Paul talks about this. He says that no one has an excuse to not believe in the creator. You can look at nature. Okay, I'm going to show this because it was hidden. That's always been my beef with the Christians. They can't answer logical questions themselves. They were raised in blind faith. They don't actually follow scriptures most times. Yep. Gangster bird. Yeah. Da, 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 da.
That was crazy.
Yeah. Zane Solo is here. What's all the comparison with birds? What are we talking about? I think you should go back to the beginning and listen to it. We're talking about birds of prey with talons and hunting birds. They are not food. So that's the difference. The difference is detestable, filthy if you try to eat them, or it's food. There's 2 different categories here. YouTube man down from the machine gun. Zane Solo, holy crap. I think it's a MK-47 bird. Bit of venom. I won't eat owls, but at least I can keep my slaves. Okay. we can get into that. We will get into that eventually. We're going to get to that chapter. So that is it. There's a major confusion of what it means to be a slave in Torah. It's usually a contract that's made ahead of time to say, I'm going to work for you to have this land or this, or even inheritance where you marry into the family as well. So anyway, like you could work into the family. Yeah, like you can earn being married to my daughter. All right, turkeys are not even from Turkey. Okay. All right. Sorry, just had to make a withdrawal. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat. I need to pay for a bill for shoes. Okay. FE Nation, what's up, brother? Saw him at the meetup. Condors. Okay. TY, hello. The bird looks like a grumpy old man, I guess. I'm assuming that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I was showing him pictures of them crazy birds.
Moon looked like a Pringles chip this morning. I swear, bird are the only thing that I can sit on a power line around my town like there are drones recharging. Okay. The bird with an annoying laughter, Woody Woodpecker from Zane Solo.
Somebody in here referencing the birds are not real crap.
I don't know. Maybe he's just talking about the birds are recharging with the electricity. I don't know.
No, that's the reference to birds aren't real, and that guy admits that that is a whole shtick. He doesn't really believe it. It's just an act.
I mean, to each their own. Like, I've dissected birds. That's some pretty high technology. Anyway,
I know.
they want us they want us to eat bugs and like it. Yikes. Yeah, culturally, I mean, it seems strange to you, but I'm telling you, there's cultures that eat unclean, right, bugs in abundance, like mealworms. Like, I mean,
Yeah, there's a lot of like.
how many times have we seen survival shows where they're like, oh yeah, just eat all these bugs out of the, out of the log here to, high protein, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, and I've eaten crickets before. Yeah, crickets. I haven't had grasshopper yet, but I'd eat it. Question. I've heard that locust is not locust, meaning John the Baptist wasn't eating bugs. Yeah, I think it's because like it's Christians like, oh no, John the Baptist wouldn't eat bugs, but if they read the Torah, they'd know that he could eat bugs. Like eating locusts and honey is not a big deal. And they want to say that it's the locust nut tree or something like that. I've heard this back in the day when I was a Christian, because I'm like, yeah, why would he eat bugs? But now I'm like, he could have definitely been eating locusts and honey. No big deal. You fry up some locusts and you dip it in honey, and it's like eating a sweet fried treat. It's not that bad. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of countries that live close to the equator, and that's where the bugs are all big.
Yep.
And they eat
I'm
them.
sorry, but it will not eat the bugs and be happy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going out and hunting crickets right now, but in a desperate situation, if I'm starving and there's some crickets around, I'll eat them suckers. No problem.
Right?
Me, not really here. Me either. I'll definitely starve when it comes to that. Okay, well, that's your choice. I mean, I could say the same thing. Like, if I'm surrounded by a group of pigs, I would rather starve to death. People would be like, well, don't you think that he would permit you to kill and eat it, to save your life? I would, hey, that's your choice. That's between you and the creator. I personally wouldn't do it. I'd rather starve, it's just where I'm at now.
Yeah, I actually found pork very easy to give up once I, learned the truth about pigs.
Yep.
Just study pigs and you won't want to eat them anymore.
Mr. Miyagi, which is actually Mr. Miyagi or Miyagi, don't eat the dung beetles. Yep, they're unclean. Very good. Earth First Space Later says hello. Mark Shirley, right on. I'll pass on and go be with Jesus right before I eat bugs. Oh my gosh. So much to break apart there. We're not going to get into it, but Jesus is not anybody's name. I'm just saying though. Anyway, Alex Javier, bees are good for honey, but not for eating. That's correct. Question. So killing biting insects is better with bug zappers? Sure. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. Okay. Depends on people's personal opinions. There's nothing wrong with killing bugs. This really had to do about being in the purest sense of yourself to approach the creator, right? Mm-hmm. So if I am, let's say my house is being invaded by a million sugar ants and I go and I, like killed them, then, I'm not going to be like, oh, now I'm going to go, present myself before the creator. No, my mind's not right. I just got done killing a bunch of things, Mm-hmm. That's my own personal opinion. You'll find a common thread between clean and unclean animals in the Bible. That is the placement of cecum, cecum in the gut of the animal and its ability to expel or store toxins. Yep. especially with a pig. Yeah. The gourmet delicacies of the world are unclean. A majority of them, yes. Keep the 10 words and eat clean foods. Thanks for teaching this. I love Yahusha. Okay. You should see my video on the 10 words. It might be interesting to you. Explain verse 32 farther. Verse 32. I'm in the wrong chapter. What happened here? Whatever any of them is dead state falls becomes unclean, whether it's a wooden object or a garment or a skin or a sack, the object on which work is done. It is put in water, shall be unclean until evening, then it shall be clean. So if you've treated the wood correctly, which is to sand it down and then cook it, because once you cook it, it becomes watertight, then it's washable. And the same thing with skins are washable once they're treated. So yeah, these are able to be clean. What does it mean to be unclean until evening? I've already just expressed that. Like, you can't use these vessels to present before so that it's all about doing your best to be set apart, really. If flies and bees are on your food outside, what do you do? Throw out the food? No, because it's talking about the carcasses. Like, if you find some dead flies on top of your food, you probably shouldn't eat it. Yeah, I'm just saying. So hunters dressing their kill. Yeah, that I don't. Yeah, you're unclean until evening. If you hunt and kill, and it's a food item, you're still unclean until evening. You can't present yourself after you just got done killing something. So roadkill, yeah. There's another verse that will be coming up later that says if you find an animal and you don't know how it died, you're not supposed to eat it.
Someone in Rockfin has a question about what you think about psychedelics.
I don't know what that has to do with Torah. Fair warning, you have to be in the right frame of spirit.
Yeah.
To invoke in these things. I'm not against it. I know that I will not do it anymore because oh my gosh, I've experienced that state of being without assistance from natural or chemical objects.
Oh, she says her husband wants to try it for PTSD and depression. You know what can really help with that I've heard a lot about is microdosing psychedelic mushrooms. That is supposed to do wonders for depression. I hear people talk about it all the time. I would look into that because she's also talking about ayahuasca. That's a heavy, like, long trip.
Yeah,
that's deep.
That's a serious, like, yeah, that one is like a purging, transcendent.
Yeah.
That's extreme. Like, that is the extreme. Like, if you want to try, like, oh my gosh, these are not medical suggestions.
Right.
Disclaimer.
Right.
This is comical conversation. Okay, it's just a joke.
Yeah.
DMT is the lesser version of that, just pure DMT.
Yeah, it only lasts
Smoke
a few
it,
minutes.
lasts for a few hours.
No, it's
good.
a few minutes. It only lasts a few minutes. It lasted a few hours because we kept doing it over and over.
Yeah.
But it only lasts a few minutes.
Yeah. If you do a hit, it will last for a few minutes. But I'm saying I'm talking, I meant ayahuasca lasts for a few hours is what I meant to say.
If he doesn't want to do the ritual thing with shamans, then that's what ayahuasca is. And you really can't do it without somebody there sort of guiding you because that's heavy duty.
Because you can lose your shit.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
Yeah. I would suggest to start with microdosing psychedelic mushrooms.
Or a D hit.
Yeah.
A DMT hit. Anyway, I get that. I don't. I'm out of context of this conversation.
I know. Sorry.
Uh,
There's a little
no.
tangent.
I'm saying in chat like I'm in the middle of a conversation with somebody else, I think.
Oh,
Question: what about chickens and turkeys? Yeah, they're not predator birds. Um, some people argue that chickens and turkeys are unclean because they eat bugs. I mean, that's between you and the creator. I mean, I have chickens. I feed chickens. I eat
I
chickens.
have chickens.
I don't have a problem with chickens.
I mean, just not talking about biblically clean or unclean. I consider chickens to be filthy.
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
still eat
Yes,
them.
clean them. Clean them well. Yes.
They're dirty birds.
You think those are dirty,
But I
man?
love eggs.
Ducks are filthy birds.
Oof.
Like you like most people who don't raise them, you see them at the park and they're in the nice clean grass and the nice
So
fresh
I
water.
thought I remembered hearing that ducks were like unclean birds because their feet were webbed, but I didn't see anything about that. So is that not a thing? That's not a
I
thing.
don't I didn't see anything in Hebrew that describes webbed feet.
Okay. Because I
I
thought I remembered that being a thing, but yeah, and I expected to see it, but then it never showed up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because duck is good.
Yeah, and duck eggs are amazing and they're huge. Um, so okay, let me give you for instance, quail in the scriptures is, a food that appears often, and they're omnivores as well. So they do eat critters. They eat insects. So at that point, like what is a clean bird? What birds are strictly vegetarian in that area? It stands to reason that a lot of this you can consider their diet, but like the predator birds, they'll eat carcasses and stuff. Um Hi, okay. William, who was awoken, I am here, hijacking Karen from Cali. Um Hello, Jacqueline. Jacqueline is Jackie, who lives on my property, who is my son's wife.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. In Asia, they eat many kinds of bugs, I'm
Yeah,
assuming,
I think that
from
was
Mark
in
Shirley.
reference to bugs. Yeah.
Hey, Kelly Jelly. No pork for over 2 years. My body thanks me. Yep. For me, it's been 11 years now. Uh, Pork Disco, laughing my AO. Had this username since 2002. When my wife and I first got married, she never had an email before, so I created one for her, and she was Fuzzy Pink Pants for like 7 years with a Z, Fuzzy Pink Pants. That was funny. We're watching pigs dance to an evil tune every day, my friend. Agreed. Yes. Tiger bear. Are locusts swarming creatures? Didn't John the Baptist eat locusts? We actually touched on that. That was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So King David could not build the temple. He was a man of war. Yahweh is Jupiter, so I don't use Yahweh, but Yah said that he had blood on his hands, but Solomon was a man of peace. Even Jacob was an inside man. Esau was a hunter. Yep. Okay, I don't know exactly the source of the comment, but I'm gonna show that comment. That's the reason it's forbidden in the Bible. I used to do all this. Shh. Trust me, those beings are guiding you, demons and fallen angels. Okay. Um, Quail's really good. My brother-in-law had some for us recently. I didn't like quail. I'm not a quail fan. Very little meat on the bone. Mm, it's a little tough for me. I imagine you could like slow cook it and it'd be easier to eat, but the time I had it, I wasn't a fan. Um, WTG, I'm assuming way to go, Jack. I also never ate much pig. I'm doing good for nearly 60. Praise ya. All right, so we got through the chat. Woohoo! I know it was a long one, folks, but I really wanted to like get in there and like show you how they can just pick and choose for words. If they don't know the root meaning of the word, it can get very convoluted. And does this mean that every word in the Bible is like this? No. But like when we get to something serious about what are we putting into our bodies, I think it's worth investigating. Because I think that the diet is not just something that affects your physical body. I also think that it messes with your physiology, your spiritual frequency, if you will. Now, these are just arbitrary words that I'm throwing out, but it's from my own experience. You know, if I eat something, excuse me one second. If I eat something, even if it's considered food, you know, according to Torah, and I don't feel well after eating that food, then it doesn't just throw up my body, it throws off my spirit too. I don't feel like being spiritual and connecting to Yah when I'm dealing with gut issues. You understand what I'm saying? Like, even if it's like overindulging, right? If you get too full from eating too much, you're just like, you're lethargic, you don't want to, your whole spirit lowers. You know, so I mean, these things we have to consider in, okay, is what I'm doing to my body helping my body and or spirit? It's not just your body that you have to worry about. You have to worry about your spirit as well, your frequency. So that's my perspective. Somewhere in time, welcome. Great insights. Thank you kindly. And I appreciate y'all like coming out. I'm so not used to this camera being so close. It's I keep trying to adjust it to fit my big old head in there. I really love like seeing the chat. So even if you're in chat like and you don't chat often, just say hello. We love to see people in there, you know, and give some thumbs up so we get some recognition. And you know, we appreciate the super chats, but FYI, super chats do and enter a super chat. I'd love to hear you guys from Dave Messenger. So super chats do get siphoned by YouTube, and there are other methods of support within the description of every video. So that's just FYI. Hey, Sue Finelli.
Hey,
see,
Sue.
This is why you should say hi. Hey, Brian. Hey, Robert. See, this is why you should say hi. I know Sue Finelli, but I only know her during Flattoberfest. That's all I ever see her, but I know her very well. So that's cool. Yeah. All right. Love you guys. Shabbat shalom. The earth is still flat.
Absolutely. Earth is still flat. All right. Sure. All right. Thanks for being here with me and Just Jack for another episode of Anti-Religious Scripture Study. Cheers, Dave Messenger, member for 4 months. I'm going to be doing a members only stream this coming weekend for all the members I've got, because somebody gifted a bunch of members to the channel. So
cool.
We're going to have a cool members only stream, and I'll have a link for you guys to come on and chit chat, and it'll be fun.
Yeah,
this coming weekend.
If people are wondering what the next episode is gonna be on, you're gonna have to tune in. Yeah, it's tough for some. Let's put it that way. It's about the babies being born and what you do for the male and what you do for the female and whatnot. So that'll
be interesting. I'm interested to see what it says.
It's a very short chapter, but I think it's going to have a lot of conversation.
Awesome.
So
love it.
All right. Shabbat shalom, y'all.
All right. Shabbat shalom.
Oh, shout out to Cammie real quick.
Shout out to Cammie. All right, y'all. See y'all next Saturday. Oh, right before we end, Peaceful, another super chat. Thank you. Cheers. Much love, y'all.